With the Lakers, and really more specifically LeBron and the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks being eliminated from the playoffs, the NBA media is losing its shit. Max Kellerman came out with this tweet, essentially insinuating it's bad for the NBA, when really he means it's bad for him and his network daddy's business. And this is nothing new. Nick Wrong not too long ago said that Jokic would be the worst MVP in 35 years, and then later on a live stream basically admitted that the only reason that he was really dismissing Jokic is that Jokic and the Denver Nuggets are not good for viewership. So it's pretty clear that the NBA does not like smaller markets and not as big name players of the likes of LeBron James. That's not really up for debate, and arguing about that's not really what this video is about. This is a very well-established thing. How many jokes have you seen about how Bleacher Report is just LeBron or Laker Report? It's not new. What I do want to talk about in today's video is how damaging of a mindset that is, not just to the NBA and its fans, but also the NBA media itself. So let's talk about it. Before I continue on with this video, about half of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall into that 50%, then subscribe. Also drop a like on this video, only takes 1 second, it makes a massive difference. Also, go subscribe to my second channel. By the time this video is out, I have my thoughts on Damian Lillard wanting Jason Kidd as his next head coach. That is up on the second channel, and I'm of course going to be doing a post-game reaction of basically the NBA Finals in round 2, Nets versus Bucks, when that game happens very soon after this video goes up. Alright, so first things first, I feel it necessary to address that as an NBA YouTuber, I do semi-understand where these guys are coming from because I deal with the same ebbs and flows of viewership based on whatever the fuck you're talking about. A video on the Utah Jazz is not going to do as well as a video on the Lakers. That's just the reality that we have established. There is a clear difference in talking about those different things, but the thing is that difference is not to nearly the extreme that these analysts would have you believe, and that extremity is only really made worse by that mindset, that it is that big of a deal. It becomes a bigger deal when you think and act like that. Now, the most important thing here is that if you are a basketball super fan like me and like a majority of the people subscribed to this channel, you don't give a fuck whether it's... As an NBA fan, you should find a way to be entertained by a Jazz, Bucks, or Suns, Nets finals. You're going to find a way to be entertained by that if you're a true basketball fan. You're not just going to be like, oh, Lakers aren't in, I'm good. Good basketball is good basketball, whether it's being played by the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Los Angeles Lakers. But that is the perspective of an NBA superfan, and that's not a majority of the NBA's audience. It is almost like probably, I'd guess, 70% casuals in the NBA's audience, and that's who they have to appeal to get serious viewership. These are the people who are more easily swayed by, oh, the Lakers are not in the playoffs anymore, LeBron's not in the playoffs anymore. I mean, is it really worth watching? It's that type of mindset that comes from casual fans. They say, the Lakers are out, well, what could possibly be interesting about watching the Sixers or the Denver Nuggets? I mean, Jokic is going to be the worst MVP in 35 years. Why would I watch him? Do you see what I'm getting at? Casual fans are heavily, and I mean heavily, influenced by NBA media, by NBA talking heads like Nick Wrong or Max Kellerman. No NBA superfan is tuning in to watch First Take or whatever the shows are called in order to get their opinions. Like, if you're an NBA superfan, you have your own opinions, and usually you're not going to like those guys. I don't know many people who are huge NBA fans that also watch those shows routinely. They just don't. It is casual NBA fans who tune into those shows, And I know that because my dad tunes into those shows. Sorry, Dad. But the perception of players like Nikola Jokic, perception of teams like the Denver Nuggets, is entirely determined to those casual fans, or at least a majority determined by NBA mainstream media. So when Nick Wrong says that, well, Jokic is bad for ratings and Jokic is going to be the worst MVP in 35 years, while I watch it, and most likely you watch it and think, well, that's fucking stupid, a casual NBA fan goes, oh, really? Well, I'm not going to bother watching the Denver Nuggets then, because Jokic clearly ain't shit. Now, the fact that NBA media has this heavy of a pull on these types of viewers is a problem in itself, and a problem that has annoyed me for a very long time. We can't really just get that out of the way right here. So with that being established, when Nick Wrong says Jokic is going to be the worst MVP in 35 years, and he downplays the Denver Nuggets, and then talking about the Denver Nuggets is bad for viewership, that's really a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every time NBA media talking heads have an opportunity to elevate one of these lower tier teams in order to make them better for ratings, they instead have the mindset of it's already bad for ratings to talk about this team, so let's not fucking talk about them. These teams and these players don't get you ratings because you think they don't. Yeah, initially, if you tried to shift it to talking about the league as a whole and giving just even coverage for every team in the league, or at least the majority of them, sure, you're not going to get the results from that eventually. But the only reason why this situation exists is because the NBA media for the last however fucking long has constantly dismissed small market teams and not as marketable superstars as LeBron and players like him. It's because you think that they aren't worth talking about that those fans think they aren't worth talking about and don't think it's worth listening to you talk about it. Certain players and teams are bad for ratings because the NBA media has determined that certain players and teams are bad for ratings. If, when presented with Nikola Jokic's likelihood of winning MVP, Nick Wrong, instead of saying he'd be the worst MVP in 35 years, instead said something like, wow, this guy is 1.7 assists, 1.2% from 3, and 3.2% from the line away from averaging a 26-point triple-double on 50-40-90. Isn't that fucking dope? Look at this guy. Pay attention to this guy. Respect this guy. Come tune in to listen to us talk about this guy. No, he's not doing that. Instead, he's saying he's the worst MVP in 35 years. If he changed that mentality and acted accordingly, I guarantee you talking about Jokic and the Nuggets would gradually become more and more of a thing that NBA fans and casual NBA fans were down to listen to. But really, the reality of this situation is that this complaint isn't actually from NBA media talking heads not thinking those teams are good for ratings, even though that's definitely a part of it. I'd say a good chunk of it is that these guys don't want to have to watch more than 5 teams in the league, if we're being real. So even that argument that it's poor for ratings is dishonest, just like most media and especially NBA media is. If these guys watched other teams outside of the Lakers, or really whatever team LeBron James is on, then they would not say things like Stephen A. Smith saying that you can trade Kyle Kuzma and a first-round pick for Devin Booker. And by the way, just thinking back to that trade proposal, I want to point something out, mostly because it's funny, but it also drives home this point. Kuzma in the playoffs in round 1 versus the Suns averaged 6 points on 36% true shooting. Meanwhile, Booker averaged 30 on 62% true shooting. 24 more points on double the efficiency. Maybe Stephen A. Smith would have realized that was a stupid fucking trade proposal if he had watched one Suns game back in 2018 when he proposed that idea. But hey, watching the Suns and talking about them wouldn't have been good for ratings, right? What am I saying? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that the NBA media makes happen over and over again, and they don't even realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot while doing it. But also, what are they going to do? Watch the fucking Cavs play? Obviously not. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, but at the end of this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.